last sentence of each paragraph. And then, and only then, were we allowed to read the book from beginning to finish. Throughout the weeks of the course, we repeatedly asked what the point of doing this was. And he said he would tell us at the end of the semester. We went through a lot of books, and most of us probably forewent the assigned reading structure that we were supposed to be reading. But sure enough, he kept his word. And at the end of the semester, he invited us to the campus chapel at midnight for a night of learning. There he said he wanted us to understand that every part of every story carries weight. That we should never approach words, whether written, heard, or spoken, nonchalantly. Because, and this is his quote, I love this quote, because words create worlds, he would say. Words create worlds. Implied in this thought, of course, is the other side of the coin, that words can destroy worlds. I remember being blown away by this simple sentence, blown away because he was absolutely right. Words create worlds. Words are powerful. They carry with them such strength that even the most careful of us sometimes lose control of them. They can make us laugh, they can make us cry, they can make our hearts swell, and they can throw us into despair. Sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can never hurt us. Of course they can. Every single one of us can attest to how false and how silly that lesson from our childhood is. It's just not true. Words do hurt us, and they can do far more damage than the biggest of sticks or the heaviest of stones. In the Hebrew Bible, the power of words is ubiquitous. God breathed the world into being with the words of creation. And it is God's words that deem the heavens and the earth, the animals, the plants, people, the creation of Shabbat, all of these things. It is what the words of God that deem them appropriate, that deem them perfect. Ki tov, God says. How good are my creations? The prophets, the paragons of speech and oration, used their words to call the people of Israel back towards the path of righteousness. And the kings, Solomon and David, used their words to pour out treasures of poetry and wisdom. Could we imagine reciting the Psalms every day if they were written with apathy? Could we be moved to tears by the love lyrics of Shira Shirim on the Song of Songs if the book consisted of a single line that all it said was, I love you? While other cultures stand beside their great edifices, their pyramids and castles, their statues and paintings, we Jews have considered our gift to humanity to be words. The Torah is our pyramid. And it endures because it has the power to change us, to make us rethink our lives, to walk hand in hand with God, whose words created the world, and whose words we honor with a poem of our own when we say, Eitz Chaim Hi L'Machazikim Ba, a tree of life to those who cling to it. But even with all our reverence, all of our gratitude, none of us, no matter who we are, can hold on to the branches of the tree of life without occasionally slipping. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, who led the Israelites out of Egypt, who interceded on their behalf for freedom and divine protection, even Moshe Rabbeinu, the only prophet who spoke with God face to face, tries to uphold the holiness of word and fails. In our Parashat Hukkat, the Israelites, still trekking through the sands and rocks of the desert, find themselves surrounded by hostile nations, their paths to the promised land blocked, and their supply of water gone. They plead to Moshe to speak to God so that they may drink and water their livestock. Desperate, Moshe and Aaron approach the entrance to the tent of meeting, and they fall on their faces in prostration and in submission. And God hears their plea. Speaking to his prophet, God says, Kach et hamateh behachen be'et ha'edah atad Aharon achicha v'dibarta al ha'sela le'eneihem v'natan ne'av v'hotzeta lahem mayim min ha'sela v'hishkita et ha'edah ve'et birav. You and your brother Aaron take the rod, assemble the community, and before their very eyes, speak around the rock, staff in hand, but rather than speaking to the rock like they're commanded to do, Moses speaks to the crowd directly, and it is his anger that flares up. Shimu na hamorim, hamin hasela hazeh notzi lechem mayim. Listen, you bitter rebels, shall we get water for you out of this rock? Then Moses turns, opting not to speak to the rock as he is commanded, but rather grabbing his staff, he strikes the rock twice. The water rushes forward. The Israelites and their livestock drink their fill, but in a single moment, in a tiny little passage, everything has changed. Words create worlds, and words destroy worlds. By neglecting to abide by God's word, Moshe dooms not only himself, but also his brother Aaron to die before reaching the promised land, to live out the rest of their days lost in the wilderness. Perhaps the brothers are punished for their anger, perhaps they're punished for their disobedience. Regardless of the reason, it is poignant that Moshe and Aaron are called to leadership in the beginning of the book of Exodus, in the beginning of Shemot, by words. And they seal their fate also with words. While the story is clearly a dramatic example of the power of words, it contains an image that I consider to be invaluable. It's easy to walk away from this text with fear and maybe even some sadness. It seems a remarkably harsh punishment for an act of disobedience that eventually yields the same desired result. After all, the water still comes from the rock. What's the big deal? But the imagery of the rock giving water through the power of speech is charged with meaning. And it is an image that we should carry with us, especially in this space, the space of this sanctuary, in the space of this building. If words create worlds, then the words that come from our lips when we are in conversation with the Holy One, blessed be He, they help build the palace of our spiritual and our emotional lives. When we come together in prayer, we do so with the commandment that our words will speak to the rocks in our hearts and elicit a flow of mayim hayim, of living water. If words create worlds, then prayer creates heavens. The problem is that prayer is incredibly difficult. We sit here together for 3 hours, many of us repeating words and formulas that we have committed to memory long ago in a language that the vast majority of us do not understand. And for those 3 hours, we are asked to say, Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach Ufia B'Tehilatecha, Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. But how can we declare God's glory if we don't even know what we are saying? How do we offer praise when we are lost, when we are distracted, when we are trying our best just to keep up and stay on the right page? I too struggle with prayer. It often doesn't speak to me. The language is difficult, the translations lack the poetry that is present in the Hebrew text, and I'm theologically troubled by some of the words that we say every morning. But when I'm kind to myself, when I come into this space of prayer with patience, with understanding, and when I give myself the permission to pray in my own way, the rock of my heart really does open, even if just for a moment, and the waters of praise come forth. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, in an interview with Carl Stern, said about prayer, "Let us not mistake the purpose of prayer. The primary purpose of prayer is not to make requests. The primary purpose is to praise, to sing, to chant, because the essence of prayer is a song, and man cannot live without a song. Prayer may not save us, but prayer may make us worthy of being saved." Prayer is a song. It is not saying every word of every page. It is not standing and sitting in perfect synchrony. And it's certainly not following my lead as I frantically flip through the Siddur and try to call page numbers this morning. At the beginning of the week, Dr. Cohen, in good humor, told me that while Rabbi Starr is away, I'm not to of your language of preference, spend time on certain words and phrases that speak to you. Hold them as long as you like, whether for a brief moment or for all the 3 hours that we're together. If you'd like to sit in silence with your eyes closed, then do so. And don't get discouraged when your thoughts drift away from prayer. Just take a deep breath and invite those other thoughts to join in and pray along with you. And most importantly, sing your song, even if God is the only one who hears you. Because like Heschel said, prayer is a song and man cannot live without a song. And while we pray together, be kind to yourself. Be patient, because I promise you that you're not doing it wrong. I'll end my going road with a personal story. One that I haven't shared with many people, but one that I think is important to be able to share with you all. And one that demonstrates the kind of prayer that can change us, that can fill us with gratitude, that can bring about that praise. In 2008, I went on an international tour to Italy with my college choir. In a town near Sorrento, a few of us decided to spend the day renting Vespas, having picnics, and taking in the beauty of the Amalfi Coast. At the end of an amazing day, it began to rain, traffic got heavier, and we were rushing to get back to the rental shop to return our Vespas and meet up with the rest of the choir. Going down a long curved hill, I noticed that a car was trailing me, was following really closely behind me. And I did my best to speed up to give the car some room so we had some distance between us. And as I continued around the corner, I felt the bike starting to give out from underneath me. Now, time slows down in moments like this, and I remember thinking very clearly to myself that I needed to hold onto the bike and slide with it, because if I let go, then the car behind me would hit me. So I went down with the bike and I slid into a guardrail some 50 feet away. I was knocked unconscious, and when I came to, I was walking up the hill on the shoulder of the side of the road, wheeling the bike up the road with me, while this woman with like full Tour de France garb on, the sunglasses and the biking uniform, was squirting my leg with her water bottle and screaming a lot of profanity, Italian profanity at me, almost every single sentence ending, thank God, with, and make sure you go to the hospital, which was good. So I think she was looking out for me. And I was fine. Physically, I was fine. But when I returned from Italy, I noticed some troubling symptoms. I would get dizzy and faint in certain places. I would get nauseous at strange times. And every time I got into a car or a bus or public transportation, my heart would begin to race. I saw doctors and neurologists, but eventually was referred to a psychiatrist who put me on a prescription for anxiety. The medicine I was prescribed dramatically helped my symptoms, but I also found that it numbed a lot of my emotions. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was missing both the joy and the sadness that comes along with life. I felt trapped, having to live either with the symptoms of anxiety or with the numbness of medication. But when I moved to New York, I met a wonderful doctor who worked with me to manage my medication and my symptoms, to create a balance that would allow me to experience my emotions and simultaneously handle any symptoms. And the first day that I felt like myself again, when I really felt like I was me again, I went to pray. I was standing by the window at the Women's League Seminary Synagogue at JTS, davening mincha and going through the normal prayer routine. Sit, stand, takes three steps back, 3 steps forward. But as I was reading, I stopped and I read a line that jumped out at me. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam matir hasurim. Blessed are you, Hashem, King of the universe, who releases the bound. I read through that line over and over and over. And as I kept reading through it, I began to cry, because that prayer was speaking to me, and for the first time I understood what that line meant, to release the bound. I had felt bound for so long, and here I was saying a prayer to God, speaking directly to God, and thanking God for releasing me. I was filled with gratitude and thanks, and I spent the rest of that service, those 20 minutes, just repeating that single line over and over and over again. The essence of prayer is a song, and man cannot live without a song. This Shabbat, I pray, I truly and honestly pray that we can find our song. And whether it feels right or not, I hope that we all can be patient to not judge ourselves harshly for not ascending to the heavens with every single word that comes out of our mouths. I pray that we can let the words on our lips become the words on our hearts, and that the waters of our praise can come forward. And I pray that all of us can stop just for a second to think about the words that we hear, the words that we read, the words that we speak, not just today, but every single day of our lives, so that we may remember that words create worlds, that words can release the bound, and that words are our gifts. And as gifts, they're priceless. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shira, a Shabbat of peace, a Shabbat of song.